Going on, everyone? John Matrix here. Hope you're all having yourselves a wonderful day. Today we're going to be jumping back into the SCP universe with the Exploring series. This is a requested video by one of our community members, SCP 3004 Imago. I believe I'm pronouncing it correctly. Imago, Imago. So yeah, we're going to take a look at that. I have no real expectations or have not heard anything about this SCP before, so don't really know what we're getting into. So looking forward to seeing what it's about. Links as usual down below in the description to the Exploring series channel and to this original video of his without my commentary and reaction. Please do me the favor, click those links. If you like this video of his, please go over there and give it a like if you haven't done so already. And if you're not already subscribed to the Exploring series channel, please go over there and do so. The man deserves love. He makes a lot of great content for the SCP universe as well as others. Often do these reactions live from our YouTube members. If you would like to come and join the discussions when I do these reactions live, we'd love to have you guys come in, hang out, and join the discussions and have a good time with us. Links down below in the description, as well as a join button underneath the video to the membership benefit tiers and what we offer. You can get early access to videos, you can get priorities on any kind of reaction requests you have, etc., etc. So do me a favor, take a look at those, see if any of that would have any interest for you if you decide you want to take your support to the next level. But regardless, thank you very much for just taking the time to come out, hang out, watch the video. Greatly appreciate it. With all that said, we're going to jump into this here. Again, Exploring series SCP 3004 Imago. Boop. Boop.
SCP 3004 Imago. Imago is a Latin word meaning image, and has a number of different definitions in today's world.
It's very interesting artwork. You know, I don't know, that's like a dragonfly or a moth of some sort, or a butterfly, you know, a cross being crucified. It's very interesting.
Most commonly, it refers to the final stage of development for an insect, but it can also refer to a psychological concept of someone's unconscious, idealized mental image of someone, especially a parent, as well as the concept of Imago Dei, the image of God. The idea that God created humans in his own image.
Interesting.
I mention these definitions because SCP-3004 relates to all of them in some way.
Huh.
Of course it's going to involve insects in some way, cicadas in this case. But bringing in the other two elements of Imago is going to be particularly interesting. I've covered a lot of religious-themed SCPs so far, and while most of them have been pretty weird, this is the first one involving a bug god.
Interesting. Okay, a bug god.
3004 revolves around a number of anomalous events connected to a druidic cult known as the Caitlaji, or the Singers, located primarily in Ireland during the 15th through 19th centuries.
Oh, so we're getting into Celtic lore?
These druids worshipped a now extinct species of cicada, and their rituals were specifically connected to the cicada's life cycle.
Interesting.
The anomalies came into play due to the presence of a deity, who began to react to the singers' beliefs, and acted upon the material world during their rituals. The most common ritual of the singers that triggered these anomalies was when a child first lost their primary teeth, signifying their entrance into adulthood. These 3004 events apparently varied, but since there aren't many records of them, we only know of a couple. Artwork from the singers show cicada erupting from their facial orifices, generally causing asphyxiation. A written record discusses when a gigantic cicada appeared in the sky, believed to be a manifestation of the deity, and all who viewed it broke out in painful boils and symptoms resembling radiation sickness.
Damn.
The singers continued to carry out their rituals despite these negative anomalies, until they were eventually destroyed by various groups that preceded the Foundation.
Interesting. So I wonder, I mean, just the idea of, I don't know how I want to word this. The idea of keeping a belief like that when obviously it's causing pain and suffering in you and your people around you, right? Like, you're worshiping an insect deity, and that god is causing symptoms of radiation sickness, boils, pain, bugs coming out of your mouth, death. I mean, I guess, again, you know, it could be the idea of transitioning into a new kind of existence. They might see them as like a higher life form. So I don't know. It's just, it always is kind of fascinating to me, the idea of certain kinds of, I don't necessarily want to call it a religion, but certain kinds of, I guess, religion or spiritual beliefs, and having, you know, doing certain rituals that cause yourselves and others that you may love and care about harm because you think it's doing something to push them towards a better plane of existence or something. I don't know. I'm assuming, obviously, that that's what the case is. I have no idea really what their core beliefs are around this. But you would think that that would be the kind of idea, right? If you're going through some kind of ritual that's going to cause pain and suffering, there has to be a more positive outcome than what you're going through and what you currently are, right?
Including the Vatican's congregation for various groups that preceded the Foundation, including the Vatican's Congregation for Otherworldly Acts, and the Royal Society for the Imprisonment of Abnormalcy.
Interesting. I wouldn't mind hearing some tales about that. The Vatican's SCP before the SCP Foundation came around. That would be very fascinating to learn about.
With the Singers wiped out, the cicada deity that was drawn to them ceased all activity and was classified as neutralized. Not much is known about this deity, but the Foundation classified it as a faith-eating entity. Obviously, there's a lot more to this than that. And of course, the deity was not actually neutralized, so let's continue. In an archived report written by a Foundation researcher, we learn a bit more about the Singers, and especially this deity. It turns out that the Singers weren't a fringe cult, but instead were nationwide respected members of society, spreading even into Wales and Scotland. The religion of the Singers was beginning to surpass Christianity in rural areas of Ireland, which led to the Vatican leading the charge to wiping them out. And wipe them out they did, utterly and completely, going so far as to potentially causing the extinction of the species of cicada they worshipped. The researcher speculates that the deity was a type of thought form, perhaps one of many, that exists.
Getting into some Greylock shit that I've been watching recently. You know, just shameless plug. If you're interested in some Greylock analog horror, you know, I've got some videos on that, and that deals with thought forms. So you can check that out on the channel. Anyway, shameless plug over.
This above deity was a type of thought form.
Interesting.
Perhaps one of many, that exists above or below our existence. This entity was drawn to the Singers, not because it was specifically related to their beliefs or cicadas, but because it was drawn to powerful beliefs in general. It acclimated itself to their beliefs and their rituals, and began manifesting in our material world through the power of their faith and the repetitions of their rituals. We've seen other examples throughout the SCP universe of the power of perception.
It sounds very Bloodborne-ish, right? It sounds like their rituals just happen to get the attention of some random, you know, eldritch, otherworldly god. And so it saw what they were doing and then just latched on the rituals and began to materialize in our world, you know, regardless of what their intentions were. It's kind of fascinating. That interests me.
We've seen other examples throughout the SCP universe of the power of perception and belief, such as SCP-2845, the Deer, who is contained through rituals because it believes the rituals work. The researcher also says that there's no reason to believe that this entity is malevolent, but instead it spoke in the only language it knew, of blood, wood, glass, and sacrifice. This idea comes from the beliefs of the Singers, focused around life and death, and imagery borrowed from Christianity and Christ's death on the cross. The researcher also speculates that the brutality of the anomalies manifested among the Singers was the entity interpreting the subjugation of the Irish people at the time. Unfortunately, we have no records of what the Singers actually thought about this deity, and whether or not they were horrified by it. All the Foundation can do is try and prevent such an entity from returning to our material world.
That's true. It might be a situation where they think this entity is some kind of creature coming to destroy the world, and so they're doing these rituals to appease it. You know, there is that side of thought. So, yeah.
Which, as a big shock, they didn't. To recap so far, we have an entity that exists outside of our existence,
Right.
is drawn to powerful religious beliefs and groups, and manifests in our world, potentially violently, through an alien interpretation of said beliefs and groups. So far, it attached itself to a relatively small religion, which was eventually wiped out, but I think you might be able to see where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, SCP-3004 is no longer classified as neutralized, and refers to a series of anomalous events that occur in Roman Catholic, Eastern Catholic, Anglican, and Episcopalian communities. In the modern day, we have a much better record of the variety of these events, and so one of the only thing that connects all these events is the presence of creatures resembling the extinct species of cicada.
Interesting.
These creatures appear alive, but are primarily made out of wood and glass. They are prominently involved in every 3004 event, and afterwards fly away from the event site and disappear. The Foundation speculates that they are returning to the cicada deity, either to feed it or be given new orders. The events are carried out by normal people in their normal places of worship, making it a pretty large containment problem. And anyone that witnesses one of these events expresses a renewed interest in their faith, and they seek to convince friends and family to accompany them in the future. Individuals partaking in an event show great hesitation to stop, even if it involves self-harm, and individuals normally afraid of insects will show no aversion to the cicadas present.
Interesting.
Also, any deaths that occur during the events will be categorized as death by natural causes, no matter what exactly happened. So, what are these events then? A few examples show them to be pretty gruesome, as the cicada god doesn't play nice after all these years.
Seems like it.
One event involved the slaughter of a child bearing traditional stigmata wounds, wounds resembling Christ's crucifixion wounds. A number of cicadas were crawling out of the child's injuries, and the child was killed when the officiating priest bit out their jugular.
What the fuck?
Cicadas continued to crawl out of the child for 6 hours after death. Another event included the forcible removal of the priest's teeth by 12 children, after which all of the children and the priest began to vomit out cicadas. The priest's teeth were later served instead of communion wafers during the service.
What the fuck, dude?
In another event, every male in attendance who had reached puberty was violently castrated, after which the scrotal tissues were gathered and passed out to be worn around the neck.
What the fuck?
Castrated males mimicked the cry of a cicada before many died from blood loss. Cicadas were seen carrying off discarded testes.
Again, this is starting to sound like some crazy ass, you know, Bloodborne, Eldritch, Lovecraftian shit here, man. Like, what?
In a fourth event, a pregnant woman was brought to the altar, where she gave birth to over 60 cicadas and a stillborn infant wearing a wooden crown.
What the fuck,
The
dude?
crown was promptly burnt, and the infant consumed. All very pleasant stuff.
Yeah, very
It's
pleasant.
believed that the cicada deity
Just everyday average stuff, you know, dude? That's just a typical afternoon.
uses these creatures that resemble cicadas in order to collect faith, which it consumes. With the singers, it used actual cicadas, but since the species was entirely wiped out, it created these wood and glass creatures as a substitute. The deity lives primarily above our reality, but partially intersects with ours, where it is able to feed off of human faith. It's theorized that if it consumes enough faith, it will completely enter our reality, at which point it will ultimately end our world due to the brutality of the events. The deity believes itself to be the Abrahamic God, and after the destruction of the singers, it latched on to the other familiar religion, Christianity.
Interesting.
Since an extra-dimensional religion-eating deity is attempting to enter our reality by consuming Christian faith, the Foundation, of course, has a plan.
Okay.
If the entity
I mean, how much faith does it need then? Right? Because like it's like Christianity and Islamic, like Muslim faiths, that's like, those are like the two top religions on the planet, from my understanding. So like, how many people do you need to believe in you before you like warp into reality itself, you know? Like, that's a lot already. I don't know. This is strange. And then like, so does it just need one religion, or could it like attach itself to multiple religions, right? So could it like not see that there are other religions believing, you know, having faiths in other gods, and could it not attach itself to multiple religions at the same time, thus eating even more faith, you know?
succeeds and enters, the Foundation, of course, has a plan. If the entity succeeds and enters our reality, the Foundation will initiate Protocol Damnatio ad Bestias, Latin for condemnation to beasts, a protocol that involves using SCPs and mass amnestics to erase Christianity from existence.
Damn.
This will
Wouldn't they want to do that before it even like came into being though? Wouldn't they want to just prevent it from coming into our reality in the first place? Like take preventative measures? You know, so like, wouldn't you want to go ahead, if you have protocol set to go ahead and wipe that religious faith from the earth, wouldn't you want to just go ahead and do that as a preventive measure? But then again, I guess it's a situation where the devil, you know, kind of a situation. Like, what would, if you wipe this out, what religion is it going to go to next? Is it just going to be a situation where it's only, you know, a matter of time? It'll just find some other religion to go to. So then, you know, maybe you lose the ability to monitor it for a while or something. I don't know. But it does beg the question, like, why wouldn't you take preventative measures and, like, I don't know, regulate the religion, I guess, maybe in some way, right? Like, you have SCPs and, you know, all kinds of amnestics and powers. Couldn't you just, like, keep that religious, like, belief to a certain amount or a certain percentage of the population, or even all religions for that matter? I mean, like, obviously, this is just a theoretical, like, you know, talking about keeping, you know, religious population control in reality is not something that is like really a topic to talk about. But
hi, I'm looking for Ray Finkel and a clean pair of shorts.
And a clean pair of shorts. Welcome. Thank you for the sub. Appreciate you. But like, yeah, I don't know. I just wonder what kind of preventive measures they would already have. Like, why not already go ahead and act and just prevent it from coming into our reality and being a problem in the first place? You know what I mean?
Theoretically cut off the entity's food supply, neutralizing it. We get to learn more through a report written by an MTF agent about a project called Site C Lux. Site C was a project involving using astral projection, a process in which an individual's consciousness leaves their physical body and can travel throughout the universe. The idea is that agents would use astral projection to view anomalies they wouldn't normally be able to see. Site C Lux involved using the project to check out the cicada deity. They captured one of the cicada creatures and let it loose so that an agent could latch onto it using Site C and follow it back to the god. The agent writes that where the deity lives is empty, except for itself and the cicadas. It's not darkness where it lives, it's nothing. A concept not unheard of in the SCP universe,
right?
Such
it's
as
just
with
a
pattern
void.
screamers. He describes the deity by writing that it's just waking up, like it's laying in bed right after waking, and the events that are happening on Earth are it just hitting the snooze button and staring at the ceiling. He doesn't want it to wake up. When the deity saw him, he describes it as hard to look at due to it appearing as too many things at once, including a big bug, an old man, a cicada on a cross, and an infinite expanse of stained glass and wood. It then begins to communicate with the agent through a barrage of thoughts and concepts. The entity doesn't understand metaphor, and it believes that it is the Abrahamic God, and it's giving us exactly what we want. It was happy to see the agent, but he wanted nothing to do with it.
Interesting. So it believes that it is the Abrahamic God, and I guess the prayers that it's receiving, it's taking literally, so it's like giving them cicada, like it thinks they want the cicada, so it's giving it to them.
It asked him if he missed it, as they never actually neutralized it, but it was just hibernating. The entity then opened its mouth, and the agent tumbled into it, becoming communion wine and wafers, and it ate the agent as he endlessly fell. The agent felt a pain of his soul, as the entity prodded him for new information. He believes it doesn't get much information from where it's at, like looking at a TV with bad reception. The agent felt the entity looking at his memories of his first girlfriend and his 10th birthday, and every memory of every church service he attended, which was quite a lot as he was a theology major. The agent concludes that all he really did with Site C Lux was feed it more, and they shouldn't send any more agents.
Interesting.
He thinks that if this isn't God, it might become God, because he looked around and there wasn't anything else across space and time. The final addendum relates to the decision to approve Protocol Damnatio ad Bestias as a containment scenario. The note is written by a Foundation employee who happens to be a Roman Catholic. She says that Judaism will remain untouched, and Islam will only lose one of its prophets, but Christianity will be completely erased.
Damn.
She wishes that this problem could be solved any other way, but the 3004 events are becoming increasingly common. She is honest and says that they have no idea what exactly will happen when the protocol is finally initiated, whether or not it will result in all life being wiped out anyways, or if something else will fill the gap left by the cicada deity.
Feel like something else.
She admits that it's possible that the cicada deity actually has already devoured the Christian god, and she partly relishes the idea of killing it.
That's a terrifying thought. That this creature, through the faith of humanity, devoured the actual Abrahamic God and now has taken its place. That's kind of a terrifying thought.
They're working on enacting the protocol as soon as possible, which will involve sacrificing a Roman Catholic reality bender to something called the Lions, 12 machines capable of obliterating concepts from existence. To be more specific, the individual that volunteered for the protocol is St. Jude, one of the 12 apostles of Jesus Christ, who has lived all this time and has volunteered after fully understanding what will happen.
Jesus.
All knowledge of Christianity known to St. Jude will be obliterated along with him, meaning that if this does work, and he does end up saving humanity, no one will remember him. She finishes by asking God
no one
for
really does remember the big
heroes.
heroes.
She is about to destroy her entire religion, and says that if this is a sin, she'll burn along with the last saint. Truth be told, it probably wouldn't work. The entity was drawn to the singers due to the power of their beliefs, but since they began mingling with Christians, it latched onto Christianity after the singers' destruction. At this point, it's hard to believe it hasn't gained a bit of knowledge of other religions.
Right, exactly. And it would just latch on to a different religion. So, like, you would have to wipe out religious belief altogether, or at least, like, contain it to a small enough population to where it won't really gain enough power.
And unless the protocol somehow utterly destroys the entity, it's going to move on to the next one.
Right.
While our world would probably get by without any religion, the point is still that this powerful entity has latched itself onto us and isn't letting go. More worrisome still is that, based on the Site C report, this entity has seemingly already consumed anything else that might have existed previously above our reality, and fully believes that it's doing us a favor in the process. Of course, at least at the time of this recording, Christianity still exists. So I think it's safe to say that SCP-3004 takes place in a bit of an alternate canon, one I'd like to see expanded on. There are a couple of other SCPs connected to this entity, but they'll have to wait for a separate video. I discussed the idea of Imago at the start, the final stage of insect development, the psychological concept, and the image of God. Hopefully now you can see how well this title connects to the SCP. Ultimately though, the entity really has nothing to do with insects, as it has transcended insects.
Right.
It has become God, and now they have to kill it.
Interesting. We got a quote. We got a quote. Give me a quote. Yeah, quote. It thinks it's God, not a God, but God. It was so happy to see me. That joy is nothing I wanted to be a part of. It was all blood and teeth. It sees what we have. It sees what we believe. I think it thinks it's giving us what we want. It doesn't understand metaphor. It doesn't understand we don't resurrect. It asked me if I've missed it. I don't think we ever neutralized it. It's not exactly protocol, I guess, talk back to these things, especially something like this, but I tried to tell it what we didn't want them. And it all hurts us. I don't think it hurt it. It didn't want to hear it. Very fascinating, you know, some very fascinating concepts in this SCP. Like, the idea of, you know, a religion and a faith calling essentially an otherworldly being to it, and it gaining enough power from it to then consume anything of other realities above ours, any other gods, any other religious gods, anything, so that it is like literally the only god or only other being left. And the terrifying thing about it is too, is the things it gives us, it thinks it's giving us what we want. It thinks we want these sacrifices and these pains and these strange rituals. So it thinks that it's providing to us what we want. So it's happy to do so and continue to do so. And yeah, just again, the terrifying thought of it being something that consumed not just, you know, the Abrahamic God, but any kind of God or any other being. And like, then that also begs the question of what kind of afterlife is there, if there even is an afterlife anymore at that point. Like, do we just all turn into cicadas, right? Do our souls get consumed by that and then turn into cicadas, or do we get consumed by it in general? Like, I don't know. And like you said, like, what's the point of eliminating one religion when it's already been shown to attach itself to another religion and gain even more power from it? So you would have to remove all religions in general. And even then, it would probably still exist and find some other kind of faith to attach itself to, some other kind of belief that would give it enough power, whatever it is, science, whatever, you know. It would probably find some other way to still feed and grow and eventually enter our world, or enter our reality as a physical creature, and then who knows what would happen then, you know. Fascinating though, very fascinating, very interesting themes. So that was the Exploring series, the SCP Foundation SCP-3004 Imago. Fascinating story. Links down below in the description, as always, to the Exploring series channel and to the original video here without my commentary and reaction. If you will please do me a favor, go over there, click those links, check out his channel if you enjoy his content and are not already subscribed to him, then please give him a sub. Definitely deserves it. Makes a lot of great content for the SCP universe as well as many others. And yeah, give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Oftentimes I'm doing these reactions live from our YouTube members. We'd love to have you guys come in and join the discussions, hang out, and have a good time with us. If you're interested in doing that, there is a link down below in the description, as well as a join button underneath the video. You can click that, take a look at the YouTube membership benefits, see if any of them have the interest for you. You can get early access to videos up to a week beforehand. You can get priority in any kind of video requests you put out there for me to do, etc., etc. So take a look at it, see if you'd be interested in helping support me and taking that support to the next level if you want to. Regardless, thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy day to come in here and hang out with me and watch this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider leaving a like and a sub, as it helps me and it helps the channel grow. And yeah, thank you guys very much. We'll see y'all on the next